Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are going to do our first Spooktober video. Aside from the introduction, this one will be the day one kind of log. I know it's day two, but I'm catching up here. I was gone all out of town during the weekend for my birthday, which is actually today, so happy birthday to me. I'll be doing a haul video after this, and then I'm going to watch my second movie for Spooktober. But first, I broke a rule already. I know this is a special case, but I still broke kind of my rule of watching only movies that I haven't seen yet. And so today I am going to do my day one look at Spooktober. Obviously, this was my birthday marathon that I do every year. The last marathon I did, I think, was 2 years ago because the one last year was during the week. And so I didn't really do a marathon, I don't think, from 2021. But in 2020, I did do a birthday marathon. It was on a Saturday, I think. Or it was before I started working at my internship that I got that year. But I ended up seeing the entire Saw franchise at that time. Jigsaw had just come out, and I remember renting that from my school library. And so I rewatched them all, loved them, as I still do. But this year, I decided to just go with all the favorites of mine. One of them is not really a horror film, the rest are. But it was kind of the ending of the marathon that I did. My dad did actually end up watching all of these. Two of them, he slept through most of them because it just wasn't his type of movie, which is fine. But of course, it was my birthday, so I chose what I wanted to watch. So I knew there would be a few that he didn't like, but this is one that I don't think, did like, but it's a favorite of mine. I did end up watching 5 movies. We started after lunch, then took a break for dinner at one point, and then we started watching the next 2 movies after that. But the first film that I watched is a favorite of mine. I've talked about it many times on the channel. I did it last year for Spooktober, so I feel kind of bad. I've broken that rule of no new movies, but again, it was a birthday marathon, so it only happens one day of the entire month. But this was Stuart Gordon's Reanimator Uncut Edition. I've said enough about this movie. I love it. I continue to love it. Stuart Gordon is a masterclass director. Barbara Crampton is brave in this movie. She's a very great actor or actress in this film. Jeffrey Combs is amazing. Dr. Hill is creepy as always, and I finally noticed, for some reason I never noticed this, but there's a line that Dan says, the boyfriend or fiance of Barbara Crampton. There's a point where he says, "Oh my gosh, Dr. Hill has a folder on Barbara Crampton, and he's creepy, and this, that, and the other." And I never noticed the folder, and I just noticed it this time, and that's really the only thing of note. This is still my favorite movie. I love the gore effects. I love all of this sort of shortcuts in terms of the editing and the framing to try and save money on effects, such as when the decapitated head of Dr. Hill is being held right in front of his other side of the body is holding it. There's a frame in there where it's just focused on his head, and you see 2 hands holding the head, and it's comical how wide the body is behind him. It's like, oh, how did they do that expert effect? And it's just really just kind of impressive. The script is for this movie and the pacing. There's not a minute to waste. It's 86 minutes, which I think all of these movies adhere to that below 90-minute runtime. So I love Reanimator. I don't know how many times I've talked about it, but yeah. This next movie, I don't know if I did a Spooktober review on this, but if I didn't, I have definitely done a full review for this movie. It's one of my favorites. It's from 1977, directed by Nobuhiko uh, Obayashi. I keep wanting to say Kobayashi, like the classic 1950s director, but this is another below 90-minute, 88 minutes specifically, movie. It's very psychedelic. The soundtrack I listen to regularly. It's amazing. I don't really know what else to say. House. I watched it again. I watched it, I think, twice last year. And I know I have already seen it this year, but I never talked about it. But there's not much more to add than what I've already talked about. Yeah, House. All of these movies I've already discussed at great length. This one here, I don't know if I've talked about on the channel, but this is one of my favorite Frank Henenlotter films from 1990. I think the actress in this film, try and find her name, Patty Mullen, she plays the titular character. She is probably one of the best performances I've seen in a Frank Henenlotter movie. This is probably one of my favorite movies by him again, but I haven't done a deep dive into this film, I don't think. I may have talked about it, but I've never done a review, which I'll change later for the channel. But this is the film Frankenhooker. My dad ended up really liking this, shockingly, and also unshockingly, because this is a legitimately great film. This is a great look kind of at how sort of toxic males creating an ideal female body and shaping female bodies to what they want rather than what the woman wants. There's a great twist at the ending where we get a lot of like kind of ironies, I guess, where our main character finds himself in the same situation that he has put his girlfriend under, and he is absolutely pissed off that she did that. Says like, oh my gosh, you didn't, keep my Johnson and all of this stuff. And she's kind of like just using exactly what he said to justify why she put him under the situation that he had already put her in. But there's also some I guess good looks at sort of how drugs can control people. There's I guess a little more humorous look than it should be taken, but our main character creates super crack at one point, and he brings it to a sort of a prostitution area where a pimp has like 8 women that our main character sort of tricks into taking measurements of all the body parts, because his girlfriend died in the first shot of the movie when she is run over by a lawnmower. And there's a really great scene where he is trying to collect human body parts, and he's like, where can I find the best body parts on a human? And immediately he thinks of, oh my gosh, I'm going to find prostitutes because they have the best bodies. And so he immediately goes to them, and there's some pretty, I don't want to say service level, but if you look for it, there's some great commentary on just sort of how drugs destroy people and how people can be trapped within the jobs, especially in a prostitution job, with the pimp drugging them and making them dependent on them. And so there's a lot of things going on in this movie. I'm still sort of processing this movie. I love it so much. I need to go into the special features, but this was obviously one of the first, or this was the third movie we watched, actually. This was sort of the last, like, cult, crazy movie that we watched for the marathon, but this one's great. I highly recommend everyone to find this movie. I have a feeling that Arrow is going to do a 4K in collaboration with Synapse, because this is a pretty old release by Synapse, or Synapse. I guess it's Synapse, but you might want to hold off on it unless it's on sale for like $15. I would pay $20 for this release because it comes with a commentary with the director, comes with a couple interviews. So Frankenhooker, everybody should watch this. The next movie that I saw, and it's the last horror movie that we watched, and this is one that I loved when I first saw it. I did do a review on this, so I don't really want to spend too much time talking about it, but I watched it again, and I love it even more. This is the film from last year, Censor. It's all about a British woman who works as a censor for the Video Nasties Committee, basically, which is where they would determine whether a film needed to be banned or not from video stores and the country itself. And so what they would do is that they would watch through these movies, write down any violence, the swearing, nudity, sex, anything. And they would say, okay, if you cut out the decapitation here, we'll release it. But under, 18, people 18 and older can rent this from the store. And we get some background info on the main character about how she's looking for her sister, and her parents have moved on at this point. It's been 20 years, I think. And they say, oh my gosh, like, let go of this. And this movie made a lot more sense on this watch. It's very well done. I love the acting in this film. The sort of, not homage, but an interesting look at the era of video stores is really great. I don't really know what else to say about this because I talked about it at great length already on the channel. So this is Censor. This was the final horror movie that we watched. And I do like how when the line is shining on the case, it kind of looks like the TV is on. But yeah, this is a great movie. This is the Vinegar Syndrome release, if you're wondering. I think it's out of print at this point. And then the final movie, one of my favorite movies of all time, directed by Juzo Itami. A ramen western, as they call it, instead of a spaghetti western. But this is an actually almost 2-hour film. So this was definitely the longest one, but at the end of the night, this movie was such a refresher, and I could have continued on watching horror movies, but I think my dad was kind of done with all these super violent cult films. But this is the film Tampopo. I've talked about it at very great length before. I am positive that I've done a review on this. If I haven't already, I need to change I have done the review. Wait, I've done a review of House. Okay. Deep one. I don't know if I've done it for Tampopo, but this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Two milkmen show up to a ramen shop after getting hungry while listening to an audiobook all about ramen cooking, and they find a very kind of burdened wife or woman who is a single mother and who owns a ramen shop, and there's a gangster and his kind of people hanging around trying to tell her to leave and go live with him. And they walk in, they're like, hey, we want ramen. And she makes ramen, and they immediately are noticing a lot of red flags in terms of how she's making the ramen. And she hires them on a few scenes later to help her become the best ramen shop in Tokyo. And oh my god, this movie is the most wholesome film ever. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody below the age of, I think, 13. There's some really explicit sex scenes in this movie that involve food, and it's wonderful. Everything in this movie is like perfect. I highly recommend the making of Tampopo, which is the documentary on disc. Um, it is absolutely amazing. I haven't watched the interviews with the cast yet, but I have seen the interview with the world renowned chef that is on this movie, who does a lot of the up close shots when they're cooking in the movie, and they have the shot like where the food is right there in the middle of the frame. And you see someone's hands cooking the food. Anytime they did that, they would hire on a world professional chef to come on and cook the food, and the cameraman will just film it. And this movie will make you hungry. It's really great. It's one of my favorite Japanese films of all time. It's just wonderful. I really enjoy watching this movie. But yeah, that was my marathon yesterday. I guess day one of Spooktober. I know it's not any new watches. I did not plan on watching anything new because I wanted to really kind of refresh myself with a bunch of movies that I know and love. This is a month where I'm mostly going to be blind watching. Every now and then I will watch a movie I've already seen, but it's a big month. I just got a big order in today from Kino Lorber from the sale, and the Shout sale order, which I spent a lot of money on because I've been waiting to for a bunch of items of this to be on sale, and they've been releasing so many great releases. So that's coming in on Thursday, so that's another haul that I'll have to be doing this week. But yeah, I will try to have the day 2 video up today. If not, I'll at least film it tonight before bed and then upload it maybe overnight and then have it released in the morning. I don't know yet, but I'll definitely have day 2 up today. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you guys' Spooktober is going well, just like mine. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of the day.